preach on such a familiar gospel narrative. A blessing in that the most often recounted stories of Jesus' ministry tend to have a lot to tell us, thus the need to retell them again and again. But a curse also in that it can be a challenge to listen with open ears and hearts when you already know how the story is going to end. So today I want to tell you a new story. Now if you think about it, you'll probably find that elements of the story sound an awful lot like Luke's gospel. But I'd rather you not think about that. Just listen. Listen to what this new story has to tell you. A certain man is walking through the city one evening. It's winter, and so it's already dark out. And this really isn't the safest place to be walking at this or any hour of the day. But it is the way to get from point A to point B. So he's walking. The sound of sirens wailing in the distance bounces from wall to wall of the narrow alley ahead of him. When suddenly he hears footsteps, a lot of footsteps, running through the slush behind him. The man doesn't even have a chance to turn around before the first blows knocks him off of his feet. His head slams into the pavement. There are voices and shuffling feet. His vision is too blurry to make anything out. His warm winter coat is yanked from his body, and his boots pulled roughly off his feet. Then the kicking begins, and blows from some sort of metal object. Too dazed from the initial blow to make even the slightest defense, the man simply prays for it to stop. The footsteps recede. His clothing is soaked, and he can't tell whether it's from blood or from the damp alley beneath him. He moans and wonders if help will come in time. A priest hurries down the street. It has been a long day, with an early morning funeral preparations, a large memorial service, and then a graveside burial in a neighboring town. She's in a hurry to get home so she can hug and kiss her kids before bedtime. She left so early this morning that she hasn't even seen them yet today. Head down, hands shoved deep into her coat pockets, she almost misses the crumpled form of a man lying beaten and bloody in the alley. Horrified, she stops dead in her tracks. She looks around to make sure the perpetrator isn't watching as she digs her cell phone out of her purse. She takes a step toward the man and sees his chest heave in a weak and labored breath. The priest looks down at her phone to call 911, and she sees the time. 7:45. She's already missed dinner and bath time. The kids' bedtime is near at hand. If she calls, she'll have to wait for the police, and she'll never make it home in time. And tomorrow is Sunday, another early morning. How many precious moments with her family can she be expected to miss? Slowly, ashamed, she puts her phone back into her purse. She glances at the man once more before continuing on her way toward home. Someone else will be by soon. Someone else can be the hero. She just wants to be a mom. The man shudders against the cold. A short while later, a firefighter strolls by. It's a rare Saturday night off for him, and he's heading home from a friend's retirement party, hoping to get a good night of sleep before his shift begins at 6 a.m. the next morning. Hearing a grunt from the alley, he looks over and sees a terrible mess of a man. The firefighter runs over and kneels at the man's side, hands already reaching out to check his pulse. His EMT training kicks in without even thinking. Then his hand stops, suddenly, hovering over the beaten man. man's body. If he calls this in, his supervisor will want to know why he was walking through that part of town. He'll have to explain about the party, and they'll ask him if he was drinking. It was only a couple of beers. He's nowhere near drunk. But drinking, less than 12 hours before his shift, there will be disciplinary actions. He won't be allowed to work tomorrow. He and his wife cannot afford a missed shift this month. There are just so many bills. The firefighter leans a bit closer. Bloody though he is, the man is breathing. He'll make it a bit longer. Soon someone else will find him, get him the help that he needs. But for now, well, the firefighter has to put his family's needs ahead of this stranger's. He stands up, sighs, and continues on his way. The beaten man begins to lose hope. An hour passes, maybe more. A homeless man shuffles through the alley, pulling a wagon with all his worldly possessions, looking for a dumpster to ransack. He hasn't eaten in a while. He hasn't done a lot of things in a while. He's been homeless since he was a teen, when he ran away from home, if you could call his foster family home to begin with. Plagued with an undiagnosed mental illness, he has tried every drug under the sun. If he could get another hit, he probably wouldn't be so hungry, but at this point, a meal is going to be easier to find. Then he sees the man, bloody, no shoes. The homeless man isn't even sure that this mess of a human is alive, but he approaches him cautiously and hears labored breathing. Pulling off his own ragged coat, he tucks it around the man. "You're going to be okay," he says. "I am here to help." The homeless man looks around, praying for someone else to come along, someone with a phone to call for help. But seeing no one, he hastily empties his wagon of all that he owns. Clumsily, he lifts the beaten man from the ground. It takes him a few tries, but he's able to position the bulk of the man on the wagon. He picks up the handle and pulls it a few steps before realizing that the injured man's feet are dragging on the ground. Without hesitation, he removes his own shoes and places them on the man's feet. And then he walks, sock-footed and freezing, but not really feeling the cold. He drags the wagon block after block to the nearest hospital. And even after the emergency room staff snaps into action and whisks the man through the swinging doors beside the front desk, the homeless man sits, hoping for good news, head in his hands as he prays. And so I ask you, which of these three was the beaten man's neighbor? At its heart, Jesus' parable, my retelling, it's a story about what it means to be neighborly, what it means to serve others first, to be compassionate, to help those who are in need. But there's another story here as well. And this story has to do with the way that we perceive the world and the people around us. Because there has to be a reason that Jesus specified personal details about the three men who encountered the wounded man on the way to Jericho. I mean, honestly, if you didn't already know how the story was going to end, would you expect the priest, the Levite, and the firefighter to walk on by? Would you expect the homeless drug addict with mental illness to be the hero? Or the social outcast of Jesus' time, the Samaritan, to show kindness to his mortal enemy? We live in a world of presuppositions and stereotypes. Our expectations of a person often dictate our opinions of them, sometimes even more so than that person's actual words or actions. We judge people without knowing them, and it has made us broken. In this country, in this society, we label innocent Muslims as terrorists because their prayers to our same God look different than our own. We accuse those living in poverty of being greedy and lazy because we don't know what it is like to have nothing. We say abominable things about people whose sexual orientation or gender identity is different from our own because somehow we are threatened by another's capacity to love. We beget violence with violence and hatred with hatred. And we still treat black and brown bodies with disregard and brutality because we seem to expect that they did something to deserve it. We are broken. And this is not who Jesus calls us to be. I had the opportunity some years ago to attend a conference at which Scottish professor of theology Alan Torrance gave a presentation. And he said something that I've never forgotten. Our task as Christians, as humans, is not so much to understand who we are, but whose we are. For it is only when we understand whose we are and what this means that we can begin to understand who we are and who the other is. In short, it is only when we understand whose we are that we understand not only who is my neighbor, but whose is my neighbor. Whose is the marginalized, the poor, the criminal, and more importantly, whose is my enemy. I don't have all the answers for how we fix the brokenness around us. But I know it starts here. When we move beyond simply asking, who is my neighbor? And begin asking, whose? Whose is my neighbor? Whose is yours? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.